The rain battered the windows of my college dorm, a relentless drumbeat that matched the storm in my chest. I was 19, a freshman at Pacific Crest University, and already drowning in the chaos of my roommate, Elise Carter. She was everything I wasn't: poised, popular, untouchable, and she made my life hell. I'd always been the quiet one, the girl who blended into the background with my oversized hoodies and sketchbooks. Elise, with her sharp cheekbones, long black hair, and eyes that could cut glass, was the opposite. She ruled our dorm like a queen, her laughter echoing through the halls as she threw parties I was never invited to. Her friends, a clique of polished girls, treated me like I was invisible or worse, a punching bag. "Hey, Nora, still drawing your little cartoons?" she'd say, her voice dripping with mockery as she flicked my sketchbook off the desk. I hated her. I hated how she made me feel small, how her presence turned my safe space into a battlefield. But it wasn't just the taunts. There was something about Elise that unsettled me, something I couldn't name. The way her gaze lingered a little too long when she thought I wasn't looking. The way her voice softened sometimes, almost like she wanted to say something real, confused me, and I pushed it down, burying it under my anger. I didn't know then that Elise was hiding a truth that would unravel everything. Pacific Crest was a liberal arts college nestled in the foggy hills of Oregon, a place where everyone seemed to know everyone. I'd come here to escape my small-town life, to find myself through my art. Instead, I found Elise. Our dorm room was a war zone from day one. She'd leave her clothes strewn across my side of the room, blast music at 2 a.m., and once accidentally spilled coffee on my sketchbook. I'd grit my teeth and clean up her messes, too shy to confront her. But the worst was her friends. They'd barge in, giggling, and make snide comments about my thrift store clothes or my weird drawings. Elise never stopped them. She'd just watch, her expression unreadable, like she was studying me. One night, during a particularly brutal week of midterms, I snapped. Elise had thrown another party, and I came back to find my desk covered in empty beer cans. "Can you, for once, not ruin my life?" I shouted, my voice shaking. The room went silent. Her friends stared, but Elise just leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her lips curling into a smirk. "Ruin your life? Nora, you're doing a fine job of that yourself." Her words stung, but it was her eyes, those piercing green eyes, that hit me hardest. There was something in them, a flicker of something I didn't understand. Guilt, pain. I stormed out, my heart pounding, vowing to avoid her at all costs. But avoiding Elise was impossible. We shared a room, a bathroom, a life. And the more I tried to hate her, the more I noticed things. Like how she'd leave me coffee on mornings after I'd pulled an all-nighter. Or how she'd quietly pick up my sketchbook when it fell, placing it carefully on my desk. I told myself it didn't mean anything. She was just playing games. Right. That's what bullies did. Yet, every time our eyes met, my stomach twisted in a way that wasn't just anger. By spring semester, things got worse. Elise's taunts grew sharper, her friends bolder. One day, I found a cruel note slipped under my door, mocking my pathetic crush on a girl in my art class. I hadn't told anyone about that crush, not a soul. My face burned as I realized Elise must have read my journal. I confronted her that night, my voice raw. "Why do you hate me so much?" I demanded. She froze, her usual confidence gone. For a moment, she looked scared. "I don't hate you, Nora," she whispered, so softly I barely heard it. Then she turned away, leaving me standing there, more confused than ever. The truth about Elise started to unravel during sophomore year. I'd moved out of our dorm, desperate for peace, but we still shared classes. I couldn't escape her. One evening, I saw her at a campus coffee shop, alone for once. She was hunched over a notebook, her hair falling over her face, looking nothing like the untouchable queen I knew. I don't know why I stayed, but I watched her from across the room. She was writing furiously, her hand trembling. When she left, she forgot her notebook. I told myself I'd just return it, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside were pages of poetry, raw, aching words about fear, love, and hiding who you are. One line hit me like a punch. I wear their hate like armor, but it's killing me. My heart raced as I realized these were Elise's words. Her truth. I didn't know what to do, so I slipped the notebook into her mailbox with a note of my own. I read it. I'm sorry. You're not alone. I didn't sign it, but I knew she'd know it was me. The next day, Elise cornered me outside the art building. Why didn't you just give it back? She snapped, but her voice cracked. Her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. I didn't mean to invade your privacy, I said, my voice steady despite my nerves. But I meant what I wrote. She stared at me, her walls crumbling for a split second before she walked away. That was the moment I realized Elise wasn't just my nightmare, she was someone fighting her own. Elise avoided me for weeks after the notebook incident, but I couldn't stop thinking about her poetry. Those words haunted Meher pain, her fear, her longing. I started seeing her differently, like a puzzle I was desperate to solve. Pacific Crest's campus was alive with spring, cherry blossoms falling like soft pink snow. I was 20 now, still quiet, still sketching, but bolder. I'd started talking to Mia, the girl from my art class, and my crush on her had grown into something real. She was kind, with warm brown eyes and a laugh that made me forget Elise's cruelty. But Elise was never far away. I catch her watching me in class, her expression unreadable, and it stirred something in me I didn't want to name. One night, at a campus queer alliance event, I saw Elise again. I hadn't expected her there. She'd always seemed so untouchable, so straight. But there she was, standing awkwardly in the corner, clutching a plastic cup. I was with Mia, laughing about a professor's bad haircut, when I noticed Elise staring. Not at me, Mia. Her face was a storm of emotions, jealousy, hurt, something deeper. My stomach dropped. Was Elise like me? I didn't approach her that night, but the question gnawed at me. The next day, I found her in the library, buried in a book. Can we talk? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked up, startled, then nodded. We found a quiet corner, and I took a deep breath. I saw you at the Queer Alliance. I didn't expect. Are you okay? Her eyes widened, and for a moment, I thought she'd bolt. Instead, she laughed a bitter, broken sound. You think you've got me figured out, Nora. You don't know anything. But I pressed. I read your poetry. I know you're hiding something. Her face paled, and she leaned closer, her voice low. You don't get to do this. You don't get to dig into my life just because you're curious. She was right, but I couldn't let it go. I'm not trying to hurt you, I said. I see you, and I think you're scared. She stared at me, her breath uneven, then stood and left without a word. The rest of sophomore year was a blur of tension. Elise stopped taunting me, but her silence was worse. It felt like we were circling each other, waiting for something to break. I threw myself into my art, creating bold, colorful pieces about identity and love, inspired by Mia and, secretly, by Elise's poetry. Mia and I grew closer, sharing coffee dates and late-night talks. But every time I saw Elise, my heart betrayed me. It was confusing, infuriating. I didn't want to care about her, but I did. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late, and I was walking back to my dorm when I heard shouting. In the alley behind the art building, Elise was arguing with one of her friends, Claire. You're lying to everyone. Claire yelled. You're lying to yourself. Elise's voice broke as she shouted back. You don't understand what it's like. I froze, hidden in the shadows. As Claire stormed off, Elise sank to the ground, sobbing. I should have left, but I couldn't. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. Elise, I said softly. She looked up, her face streaked with tears. Go away, Nora. But her voice was desperate, not cruel. I sat beside her, silent, waiting. Finally, she spoke, her words barely audible. My family, they'd disown me if they knew. I've spent my whole life pretending. My heart ached as I realized what she meant. Elise was queer, just like me, but trapped in a cage of fear. I reached for her hand, and to my surprise, she didn't pull away. That night marked a shift. Elise started opening up, bit by bit. We talked late into the night, not as enemies but as two people trying to understand each other. She told me about her conservative family, how they'd sent her to conversion therapy as a teenager, how she'd learned to hide who she was. Her cruelty, she admitted, was a defense mechanism, a way to keep people at a distance. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said one night, her voice raw. I was just scared of what you made me feel. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to forgive her, but another part remembered the pain she'd caused. Still, I couldn't deny the pull between us. It wasn't just sympathy, it was something deeper. Something that scared me as much as it scared her. Junior year brought a fragile truce between Elise and me. We weren't friends. Not exactly. But the hostility was gone. Instead, there was a quiet understanding, a shared secret that bound us. I was dating Mia now, and it felt like a dream. She was everything I'd wanted: kind, funny, supportive. We'd spend hours in the art studio, painting side by side, our hands brushing as we reached for brushes. But Elise was always there, a shadow in my mind. I'd see her in class, her head bent over her notes, and my heart would lurch. I told myself it was guilt or pity, but deep down, I knew it was more. One afternoon, I found Elise in the studio, working on a sculpture. It was raw, jagged, beautiful, a reflection of her inner world. This is incredible, I said, genuinely awed. She blushed, something I'd never seen her do. Thanks, she muttered. I've been trying to be honest in my art. We talked for hours that day. About art, fear, and the masks we wear. It was the first time I saw her smile, really smile, and it was like the sun breaking through clouds. But the closer we got, the more complicated things became. Mia noticed. You're different around her, she said one night, her voice tight. Is there something going on? I denied it. But the truth was, I didn't know. Elise was a storm, pulling me in even as I tried to hold on to Mia. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. Then came the campus art show, a big deal at Pacific Crest. I'd submitted a series of paintings about love and identity, pouring my heart into every stroke. Elise had entered her sculpture, the one I'd seen in the studio. The night of the show, the gallery was packed, the air buzzing with excitement. Mia was by my side, her hand in mine, but my eyes kept finding Elise across the room. She looked stunning in a black dress, her hair loose, but her eyes were nervous. When the awards were announced, I won first place. The crowd cheered, but all I could see was Elise's face, proud, but tinged with sadness. Later, she found me outside, away from the crowd. You deserved it, she said softly. Your work, it's honest. I wish I could be like that. I wanted to reach for her, to tell her she could. But Mia was waiting. I just nodded, my throat tight. That night, Mia confronted me. You're in love with her, aren't you? she asked, tears in her eyes. I couldn't lie. I don't know what I feel. I admit it. But I love you. It wasn't enough. Mia walked away, and I felt like I'd lost something precious. But deep down, I knew I'd been lying to myself about Elise. The next few months were a blur of guilt and longing. Elise and I grew closer, spending late nights talking about everything: our fears, our dreams, our past. She told me about her first crush, a girl in high school she'd never dared approach. I told her about my small-town upbringing, how I'd always felt different. We were building something, but neither of us dared name it. Then, one rainy night, everything changed. We were in the art studio, cleaning up after a late session. The room was quiet, the only sound the patter of rain. Elise was close, too close, and when our eyes met, the air crackled. "Nora," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know how to do this." Before I could respond, she kissed me. It was desperate, electric, like a dam breaking. I kissed her back, my heart racing, knowing this was what I'd been running from and toward all along. That kiss changed everything. Elise and I were no longer just roommates or enemies who were something undefined, something terrifying and beautiful. But love, I learned, is never simple. The weeks after our kiss were a whirlwind. Elise and I stole moments in the art studio, in quiet corners of the library, in the shadows of campus. Every touch, every glance, felt like a secret we were guarding from the world. But the world wasn't kind. Her friends, especially Claire, noticed the change. "What's going on with you and Nora?" Claire asked one day, her tone sharp. Elise brushed it off, but I saw the fear in her eyes. She wasn't ready to come out, not to her friends, not to her family, maybe not even to herself. I was struggling too. I missed Mia, the simplicity of what we'd had. But Elise was a fire I couldn't extinguish. She was flawed, broken, beautiful, and I was falling hard. One night, as we lay on my dorm bed, her head on my chest, she whispered, "I don't deserve you." I wanted to argue, but the weight of her words silenced me. She was still fighting her demons, and I didn't know how to help. Then came the moment that nearly broke us. Elise's parents visited campus for family weekend. She'd warned me they were strict, but I wasn't prepared for the coldness in their eyes, the way they spoke to her like she was a project, not a daughter. Dinner. I watched her shrink, her usual confidence gone. When her father asked if she had a boyfriend, she froze, her hand trembling under the table. I reached for it, but she pulled away, her eyes pleading with me to stay silent. Later, alone in her car, she broke down. "They'll never accept me," she sobbed. "If they knew about us, they'd cut me off. I'd lose everything." I held her, my heart breaking, but I felt helpless. "You don't have to tell them now," I said. "But you can't keep hiding forever." She looked at me, her eyes searching. "What if I lose you too?" she whispered. I didn't have an answer. The rest of junior year was a tightrope. Elise and I were together, but it was fragile. She'd pull me close one day, then push me away the next, terrified of being found out. I tried to be patient, but it hurt. I wanted to shout our love from the rooftops, but she wasn't ready. And then there was Mia, who'd started dating someone else. Seeing her happy stung, but it also made me realize how much I wanted that happiness with Elise. One night, after a fight about her secrecy, I walked out. I couldn't keep living in the shadows. But as I sat by the campus lake, sketching my pain, Elise found me. "I'm trying," she said, her voice raw. "I'm so scared, but I'm trying. For you." She sat beside me, and we didn't speak, but her presence was enough. I knew then that I'd fight for her, no matter how hard it got. Senior year was our crucible. Elise and I were in love. But love alone wasn't enough. The world was waiting to test us. We moved into an off-campus apartment together. Small, cozy space filled with our art and dreams. It was our sanctuary. But the outside world kept creeping in. Elise was still closeted to her family. And the strain was wearing her down. I'd find her staring at her phone. Her parents' texts unanswered. Her face etched with worry. I want to tell them, she'd say. But I don't know how. I'd hold her, promising we'd figure it out. But I was scared too. School. Things were better but not perfect. Some of Elise's old friends had drifted away, sensing the change in her. Claire, though, was relentless, dropping hints about rumors she'd heard. One day, she cornered me in the cafeteria. You're the reason she's acting weird, aren't you? She spat. I didn't flinch. She's figuring herself out, I said. Maybe you should try it. Claire stormed off, but I knew she'd keep pushing. Then came graduation. We were 22, on the cusp of the real world, and the pressure was suffocating. Elise had a job offer in Seattle, and I'd been accepted to an art program in Portland. The distance loomed, but we vowed to make it work. The night before graduation, we sat on our apartment balcony, the city lights below us. I want to be with you, Elise said, her voice steady for the first time in months. No more hiding. My heart soared, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. The next day, at the ceremony, Elise's parents were there. She'd invited them, determined to tell them the truth. After the speeches, she pulled them aside, her hands shaking. I stood nearby, my heart in my throat. Mom, Dad, she said, her voice clear. I'm in love with Nora. I'm queer. The silence was deafening. Her father's face hardened, and her mother looked away. You're confused, her father said finally. We'll talk about this at home. They left without another word. Elise was shattered, but she didn't break. That night, she held me tighter than ever. I did it, she whispered. I'm free. But freedom came at a cost. Her parents cut her off, financially and emotionally. She leaned on me, and I leaned on her, and we faced the world together. After graduation, Elise and I moved to Portland. It was a fresh start, but the scars of the past followed us. We were building a life, but it wasn't easy. Our first year out of college was a crash course in reality. I worked part-time at an art gallery while studying, and Elise took a low-paying job at a nonprofit. Her Seattle offer gone after her parents' influence. Money was tight, but we had each other. Our apartment was small, cluttered with canvases and books, but it was ours. We'd cook dinner together, laughing over burnt pasta, and fall asleep tangled in each other's arms. But Elise's pain lingered. She'd wake up from nightmares, her parents' rejection haunting her. I'd hold her, whispering that she was enough, that we were enough. Slowly, she started to heal. She joined a local queer support group, and I watched her bloom, her confidence returning. She started writing again, her poetry sharper, braver. I painted her, capturing the strength in her eyes, the softness in her smile. Then came the day that tested us again. Elise got a call from her mother, the first in months. They want to meet, she told me, her voice shaking. They say they're ready to talk. We drove to her parents' house in the suburbs, my stomach in knots. The meeting was tense, her father's disapproval palpable. But her mother softened, tears in her eyes as she hugged Elise. We don't understand, she said. But we want to try. It wasn't acceptance. Not yet. But it was a start. That night, Elise proposed. We were on our balcony, the stars above us, and she took my hand. Nora, you've been my home. she said, her voice steady. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down my face as I said yes, my heart full. We didn't have a ring, just love, but it was enough. Our wedding was small, just close friends and my family. Elise's parents didn't come, but her mother sent a letter, a tentative step toward reconciliation. We stood under an oak tree, vows in our hands, promising to love through every storm. When I kissed her, the world faded away. She was my wife, my partner, my everything. Life wasn't perfect. We fought, we struggled, but we always came back to each other. Elise published her poetry, her words touching hearts across the country. I opened a small art studio, teaching kids to find their voice through paint. Together, we built a community, a family of chosen ones who loved us for who we were. One day, I found an old sketchbook from college, filled with drawings of Elise, angry, beautiful, untouchable. I showed it to her, and we laughed, tears in our eyes. You were my nightmare, I said, kissing her. And my salvation. She smiled, her hand in mine. You were my truth, she whispered. Our story wasn't just about love. It was about courage, about breaking free from fear, about finding home in another person. Elise and I weren't perfect, but we were real. And that was enough.